Hey guys, this is Sarah with Ebb and Float Yoga Teacher Training, and I just wanted to touch base as you begin to build and sequence your classes. There can be a lot of confusion on how to build those vinyasa classes, and so I just wanted to kind of ease the pain and talk to you about it not being the end of the world if you struggle with it. So as you build a class, when we build an intelligently sequenced peak vinyasa class, we want to work through kramas. Kramas work from the simplest version of the pose to the most complex version of the pose. A lot of times we are under the impression that this should be the quote unquote hardest pose in the class as your peak. That's not necessarily what we're trying to do. We're trying to skill build from one pose to the next. So we'll just use handstand as an example, a very simple example here. So we think about poses that look like handstand. Okay, so we know that Tadasana or mountain pose looks like handstand. We know that we also have a plank pose that looks like a handstand. And then we have variations of handstand before we get to the full handstand. So that would be my krama going from simplest to complex. The easiest version of that would probably just go ahead and be that Tadasana, that mountain pose variation, right? You can do some variations with the hands. The second one would be that plank pose. So when we're in plank, we're engaging those abdominals, lengthening the spine, working into the quads, using a lot of the same activation techniques that we need to. So we brought this position here, and now we're gonna invert it, and we've got different variations for the legs. Those are gonna be the kramas to get you to the handstand. The handstand itself is gonna be your peak vinyasa in the class. So when you're building your sequence, the things that you need to ask yourself is, most importantly, what is my peak vinyasa? We're gonna also go into what kind of pranic energy is needed to get into that posture, okay? Is it, what pranavayu am I utilizing? Am I drawing in? Am I pressing out? Am I lifting up? Am I pushing down? Which one is it? And then you also have to ask yourself, what needs to be strong? What needs to be open in order to accomplish this posture? Because we've all been to a class where we are so excited to take the class and everything's just kind of jumbled. It's a great class. We love the teacher, but things just don't quite mesh and we can't quite get to that peak posture that maybe they're trying to get us into. And we feel like a struggle bus and we're just really challenged and we don't really necessarily like to practice that day. So that happens. And sometimes what it is that the teacher didn't take you through a krama sequence and also focus on what needs to be strong, what needs to be open in order for you to be successful in the posture. So we want all of our students to find success in a varying degree of the posture. So the kramas also help us create that safe space for every single student. So there's different varying degrees of a runner's lunge, for instance, different ways that students can do a warrior one position with or without the arms overhead, a longer stance, a shorter stance, using a chair for stability. There's all sorts of things that we can do for our students to change one pose to make it be great for the advanced practitioner and great for that new beginner student. So as you're building your classes, you've just learned about connecting vinyasas. So you're going to create those simplest to complex poses in a sequence from highest to lowest, top to bottom, or simplest to complex, right? And so your opening progression is gonna have a mirror of what that's gonna look like. We have our namaskar, and then we build into our progression waves, which are going to have, each progression is gonna bring in a more complex version of that simple variation of your peak posture. When you reach your peak posture, you're gonna have time for your students to learn how to get into the pose rather than just stating, all right, now it's time to do crow, go ahead and get into it. Walking your students step by step into what needs to happen. We're pressing down to the earth, we're pulling into the center of the core, we're bringing our eye line forward, and we're slowly tipping the body up and forward, creating space and length, and then letting the feet leave the ground. So making sure that you give all those tools so that your students can be successful. Right now, I just want you to focus on the kramas, the simplest to complex version of each posture. It's not always what you think. And then think about how you need the body to be strong and flexible, right? They both have to work together. So we create strength in one area, we create flexibility in another, and that's how we build our pose. So I hope this takes out a little bit of the mystery on building a sequence. Of course, there's so much more, so make sure that you read through all of your homework and all of your documents as you're building. And please don't be afraid to reach out to your mentor or myself anytime. and I'm happy to walk through this process with you again. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time building classes. It's so much fun. It's such a joy. Think about it as an art or a dance. And what you have right now is an outline of how to do that. And so use your outline, build the story in between on those pages, and we'll see what you come up with. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.